Hi, we're talking about the Rosicrucian teachings, consciousness, mysticism, and all of those subjects in relation to life. Lonnie, the topic of selfishness is a very common one. You see a lot of references in the media and looking at different generations and are they more selfish, less selfish, or Americans more selfish, etc. I'd be interested in your thoughts about selfishness and the self.
Selfishness refers to the little self. And it realizes that it is all that there is. It doesn't involve being a part of anything else. So if I'm selfish, all must be related to me. I don't relate to you. Now, the larger self, of course, is more expansive, and inclusive. It involves everyone.
Would you say,
go ahead.
Would you say there are gradations of that? As an example, when a person has a family or they have children, does their sense of the self get greater or larger than it was perhaps before in terms of who it or what else it embraces besides the most kind of atomistic idea of self?
Now, mind you, this life process, this evolvement, is a gradual one. First of all, the concern is with the individual. Then it may extend to the family and say, oh, that is me too. And then it may extend to the kinship. And gradually, this self expands, this consciousness expands to include the country. And maybe it may expand enough to include the employer. And it continues to expand how and why, all according to how that individual is working with his spiritual and mystical sense, knowledge, inspiration. And consciousness will expand until it includes the whole world. So selfishness is a limited aspect of life.
Could you turn it though also and look at is the definition of the self. So as the definition of the self changes, right? Self now embraces and involves one's family, as you point out, or one's community, that one acts on the behalf of the self. Right? Generally, we refer that as greater goodness, right? So a person who takes something just for themselves, they go, oh, he's very selfish. He or she is not a good person. They say, oh, well, he did it for his family and his kids. Not as bad a guy. And so he does it for his country, does it for all of humanity. There's the notion of acting on behalf of the self move to what we call good as the sense of the self expands.
Right. It expands. Keep in mind, self expands according to the consciousness of the individual. And certainly, he's not concerned about the grocer from whom he's stealing. You see, it hasn't expanded there yet. But the family, oh yes, the family and I are one. You see, and then as his spiritual consciousness expands, it gradually and slowly expands to include whatever is part of his consciousness.